Hey, welcome everybody. It's Steve Stewart from Money Plan SOS at stevestewart.me, and I'm going to be broadcasting here in a few minutes. We're just going live for anybody who might be showing up early. I'll introduce these two later again, but let me go ahead and just bring them on. I mean, there's Crystal Yoon. Is it Yoon?
Ewan, yeah.
Ewan. Okay, so there's a little extra syllable in that.
A little bit.
Cool. We met through a mutual friend, Michael Max, a few weeks back. He found a website and actually a Facebook group that you moderate or you host.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. We'll have. Oh, look at that! We are live now, and I can't get the video to stop. I'll just close it. So the video's live. We know that's the case. Yeah. So tell us about acupuncture. I mean, what got you into that?
I have been interested in acupuncture since I was a kid. So I was about 7 when I first started getting it, and it's what I've wanted to do since then.
Wow.
Yeah, I got some weird looks when people would ask what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I would say an acupuncturist.
What was it that got you interested at that young age?
I had a bunch of respiratory issues, frequent colds, sinus infections, couldn't really play at recess. And so my mom finally took me to her acupuncturist and got me on herbs, and I was feeling better within a couple of weeks, running around and having normal childhood experiences.
So you got into it because of the benefits that you experienced yourself firsthand.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah, I worked for an acupuncturist in high school and went straight to acupuncture school as soon as I could.
Do you have to have a degree, or could you practice without?
You have to have a degree because you need to have licensure either within the state or the country, depending on what your state regulations are.
Licensing.
Yes, and to get licensing, you need to have some sort of schooling. They used to allow an apprentice program. I think some states still do, but most you have to graduate from a master's program and then pass the national board.
You took that direction and got yourself a degree. You've been practicing for how long now?
I'm in it'll be 7 years in September, so in my 6th year. Yeah.
All right, I assumed you were 24. I don't know where that number came from.
I'm 32.
Really? Wow, fantastic. Yeah. You look wonderful.
Well, thanks.
So you've been practicing for 7 years, and we'll get into your story a little bit. You can share whatever you want, but we know you blog about it, so you'll share it with the audience when they get here. We still have a couple minutes. This was kind of a last-minute ad-in. My friend Steve Muty. Is it Muty?
Yes, Muty, like music.
Ewan and Muty. Okay. Using it today. Steve, dude, you're the YNAB master.
Well, I think it's a bit much, but all right.
Well, Crystal and I, we're just fans. We're big fans.
Right.
But you were ingrained in YNAB. For how many years did you work for YNAB?
I worked for YNAB for 6 years, really stretching it out to probably 7 or 8 if you talk about when I first joined the forums, soon after they put them online.
Right. You were actually kind of working for them without getting paid.
Yeah, for a long time. I've been an advocate, still am. It's great. It works for me. And it just clicked after so many years of like, how do I do this budget thing? I just don't get it, So yeah, I like it. Yeah,
that's going to be one of the things that we're going to do when we compare EveryDollar and YNAB, because they're very well, you'll see. I don't want to get into it because a couple minutes we'll get started here. We're just kind of chit-chatting. Folks, if you're watching, and I see we've got at least 3 people on right now. I don't even know if I shared this recently, but if you're watching, you can watch it on Google+, you can watch it on YouTube, and you can leave questions there. If you went to stevestewart.me/live, you can go ahead and leave a comment there, and I'll go back and check that later. But the best place to do it and leave a question is at Google+. I wish I could give you a link to that, but it's one of those. It's plus.google.com/events/C7G1HQKK. Are you keeping up with me? No. So. I don't know if there's a way I can send it out to everybody, but well, maybe there is. But anyway, there is a Q&A section, so if you feel like asking a question, let me know. Send me a message. You can also send me a tweet. I am at MoneyPlanSOS on Twitter, well, I guess I'll have to have my phone next to me now since I said it. So that's a good question for this conversation. Crystal, I'm assuming you have a smartphone?
I do.
And what kind of smartphone do you have?
I unfortunately have an iPhone 6 because I bought it before I got serious about not spending a lot of money on things.
Are you regretting the iPhone purchase, or are you regretting the iPhone purchase?
I mean, I've used an iPhone forever, and it was one of those things where My phone was getting old. It was still functional, but I was going on a trip to Italy and I wanted a nice camera, so I splurged on the iPhone 6, and then now I wish I hadn't.
You don't regret the phone. You regret the money
The
you put in the
purchase,
phone.
yeah.
Oh, well,
I
that
wish I'd planned better for it.
nothing to
It
do
was
with the phone.
yeah, it was. I love the phone. I wish I had prepared, and it was one of those things. I was like, I'm leaving on my trip. My camera sucks. It became available, and I just bought it, and yeah.
Come on, any
I love it.
camera you would have bought in the past 6 years is way
Yep.
better than anything we bought 10, 15 years ago, and anything in the last 3 years blows my mind.
It's so true.
Yeah,
I mean, the pictures from my trip are awesome. Um, but yeah, if I were to have it to do over, I would have done it differently.
yeah. And then I'm assuming, Steve Muty, you probably have a iPhone.
No, actually, I don't. There's an iPhone in the house, but I've got an LG G3.
So does that
Um,
run Droid?
it does, Android,
Okay, all right.
and love the screen, love the camera on it too. The only thing about the camera is, and this is probably true with all cell phones, is, if I'm ever going to see Bigfoot or UFO, I'll never get the camera on in time. It just doesn't seem to respond. It's like, come on, let's go. No, it never wants to do that, so it's fast enough.
I'm looking to see if anybody's sending anything on Twitter. A couple of people finally responding to my April Fool's joke from yesterday. Uh, you can ask me about that later if you like. And Steve, did you just start following me on Twitter? What's up with that?
Yeah, I know. I'm sort of embarrassed. I went poking around this morning and it said follow, and I'm like, I don't already.
You don't already follow Steve Stewart. Can you believe this?
So yeah, I do. I have
Oh,
for
we can't hear you. You're
following.
breaking up. All right, we'll have to let you go. Thanks. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm just trying to find a way to make this work. Here we go. Okay. This will work. All right. I've never set up the iPhone to sit there and wait for us. All right. Well, we've got people joining us. Hopefully this is going to be really entertaining because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The reason this webinar came to be was because I met Crystal in a Facebook group that she created. Crystal, for the people who are just joining us, tell us a little bit about who you are and what this Facebook group is about.
Sure. I am an acupuncturist in Chicago, and most acupuncturists, or many, graduate with 6 figures of student loan debt and not a whole lot of earning potential. So I finally, in my 7th year after graduating, decided to take control of it, and I started a blog about my journey to pay back my debt. And it took off, and then it became a Facebook group, and so I had Steve on as our first guest expert, and that went really well, and it was awesome. And it's just, I'm sort of flying blind. I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's awesome, and I am trying to just be really open and honest about my journey, as well as, trials, tribulations, things that work, things that don't, my budget, my expenditures, all of it, just to show people the reality of my situation and probably give them a little more clarity on, their situation, and know that they're not alone in this struggle.
Yeah, now you started a blog,
Mm-hmm.
debtfreeacupuncturist.com. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty long,
Long, yeah.
but it wasn't taken, so it's yours.
Right.
But this Facebook group, I mean, it was really active when I was in there. So
Yeah.
how many members do you have in there?
We're almost at 400. I think we're
My
like
goodness!
395 or something right now. Yeah.
I've had my page for that long, and for about 4 years, and I've got 350.
Yeah.
So are there that many people who have student loan debt from becoming acupuncturists that need that
Yeah.
community?
Yeah. There's thousands of acupuncturists, and I would say anybody who's graduated within the last 8 to 10 years probably has a significant amount of debt. Before that, it wasn't as expensive, but people who are graduating now, even there's a lot of students in the group, which I think is really good because they're getting a hang of their debt before it becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I don't have undergrad debt. A lot of them do have undergrad debt and mortgages on top of their student loans. So it's a big problem because really a lot of acupuncturists, when they graduate, they maybe can make $15,000 to $25,000 a year, which is hard when you've got 6 figures of debt.
Yeah, really. That is a lot.
Yeah.
And then the reason why we're doing this webinar is because you mentioned in one of your posts, it said, hey, I'm using this thing called YNAB. I love it. And if anybody wants to get in a webinar, I'd like to arrange it.
Yep.
And I decided, well, all right, let's make that a reality. You and me, let's get together. Let's talk about YNAB. And then I mentioned it to my friend Steve Muty. Steve Muty, come on and introduce yourself.
Hi. Not much to say. I met Steve Stewart. It's going to be confusing a little bit. FinCon a couple of years ago, a financial bloggers conference. I'm not a financial blogger per se, but I was working for YNAB at the time. It's worked for me, and I like to help people out and you know, in their journey with money, because what just seems to be such a taboo subject with so many people. And after I got done at YNAB, I decided to do like a brain dump that's of the different things in my head. I've published a book on that as well, and I'm thinking about working on some more. And not necessarily specifically surrounding YNAB, but also finances as well. So I've got a little blog with me, well, 2 or maybe 3 viewers, I think, at this point. Really not much there, but I'm doing that on the side and seeing what else the future brings to me.
I'm showing your book on the Hangout right now, so if anybody's watching, they'll be able to see your book that was released, Paycheck to Paycheck. Give me the full title, because it's like 20 words long.
Yeah, it's Paycheck to Paycheck Budgeting with YNAB, which in the subtitle, the Unofficial Guide to Reaching a Full Buffer. It's one of the things that I remember seeing a lot when I was doing customer support, is so many people were in that actual paycheck to paycheck existence. And the golden ring of how the YNAB rules work, of course, is living on last month's income, Rule 4. And it's so hard, or at least it seems so hard to get there when you're doing that paycheck to paycheck. Money comes in, it goes out as fast as it comes in, bills, food, whatnot. And this method, you know, helps people to understand how they can get there incrementally. Because once you reach that full buffer, as you know, it's so easy, and it's actually refreshing and fun to pay bills. And that may sound a little crazy, but to sit down at the first of the month and line up all the utilities or have them on auto pay and just done, they're paid for. Yep. And then you don't have to worry. The rest of the month is a cakewalk. You just have money you need for the incidentals, gas, and groceries, and so forth. And so that is a method of getting there from that week to week, because there's not really a way built into the software, directly anyway, to do that, to step you through.
And that was the catalyst that brought you in on being such a huge fan of YNAB before you even started working for him, was that you couldn't figure it out. You said, okay, what's this YNAB thing? Live on last month's income this month, or take this month's money and use it for next month's bills. You had to build that buffer, and that's what got you hooked.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing that made it different for me about YNAB in general, is so many budgets. It's like, okay, let's decide what we're going to spend this month and what we're going to bring in, and it's sort of like a crystal ball approach, and that just baffled me. I mean, I can write down some great numbers, so I'm going to have all kinds of money and we'll pay all kinds of things or pay some debt down, but it never seemed to match up for me, or it didn't click anyway. And YNAB takes the approach of more of a spending and savings plan for your money. Of course, that's condensed into the word budget. And it is a budget, of course, but you take only what you have for money, not what you expect to get. And by doing that, it's very easy to see, even on that paycheck to paycheck or week to week approach. You can see, all right, I've got this much. I'm going to pay. Here's what we must pay. Here's what we need to pay. And once that's gone, we're done. We stop right there. And even if there's more to be paid, you have to live with that, as do, of course, your creditors if you're behind. And I know I was once years ago. Living in that way, and it's like, if you can't pay the bill, you can't pay the bill, but at least you're making the right steps and striding, trying to get to where you can pay things off and down and get ahead.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that caused me to love YNAB so much too. Now, Crystal just found YNAB. When did you actually start using You Need a Budget, Crystal?
The first time I started using it was in the fall of 2013, and I used it for about 4 or 5 months, and it was awesome. I paid off my credit cards, was able to keep, no credit card debt, and then sort of life got in the way, and we ended up having zero. We went from 2 incomes to 0 incomes because of things, and that is the time when you should absolutely be budgeting, and that was the time I absolutely ran away from it, because I was like, I have no money coming in. How am I supposed to be doing this? And that turned into lots of credit card use and thinking, I'll start YNAB again next month, and then I didn't. Um, so I started it again in the middle of January of this year. And just from last month to this month, I've reduced spending by $900, and I'm just continuing to make those goals of getting spending as low as possible and putting all that extra money to my debt.
Sweet, sweet. And your debt, you want to share that with everybody? I mean, you blog about it.
It is, I don't remember the exact number, it's $116,000 and some change for student loans.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did pay off about $17,000 of credit cards earlier this year.
All right. The amount of money that you owe on your student loans is what we have already paid off for this house. We have to put that into perspective. Now, this education you've got is very important.
Yes.
And this is your way into the professional world and the medium that you want and all that. So hopefully that pays off over the long haul. Just that, boy, oh boy, is it got a stink right now with the 6 digits of debt.
Yeah, and a lot of people say they end up with a student loan mortgage because it's it's the same amount.
A student loan mortgage, wow.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll get equity out of that thing after a while.
Yeah.
Hey, before we start comparing these two different budgets, let's talk in generic terms real quick, very quick. Let's not get into a big long discussion, but Crystal, why do you feel the need to even budget?
Because it allows you to give a plan, make a plan for your money, and you know where it's going, and you pay attention to it.
Why is that important?
I'm way less likely to make stupid decisions about where my money's going. I'm not going to be like, let me buy this thing at Target that I really don't need and that I haven't budgeted for, or something online, anything like that. It lets me know where I want to put my intention with my money and stick to it. And it's flexible. So if there is something I decide, I really did want that, or I forgot to budget for that, you can move things around. So it's not, you're not stuck in it, but it also gives you a framework that you can work within. So.
All right. Steve, why do you feel there's a need to budget?
Yeah, very much what Crystal talked about. It has to do with accountability. If I don't have a budget, I just have money, and if I have money, I'm going to want to spend it. With myself and my wife, it's a little backwards from the typical, where at least this may sound a little sexist, but the wife spends all the money while the husband earns it. With me, it was different. I earned the money and I spent it. Electronics are a crutch and whatever else. So through the years, if I had money, great, I got paid. I can buy things. And then what's this? A notice? What about the light bill hasn't been paid? So a budget takes that and goes, look, you can have fun, you can do the things you want, but first decide you need to put some here, some there, somewhere else, and then just follow it. It's a plan. It's that accountability that we all need, actually. All
right, and the reason I budget is to make it go farther. Period. Makes the money go farther. I don't do as much impulse spending that makes every dollar count, and I feel that's why. And I feel like I need to be responsible with the money. So, because if not, then you don't want to know what I used to be like. All right, let's get into it. And we've got some people watching, so hopefully we'll get into it. One of the things I want to do when we compare these two budgets, we got to talk about the different processes as well. Let's not get into too many of the details in the weeds, but there's 10 questions. In fact, let me share my screen so we can all just kind of watch. We will watch. Let's see. Tell me if you are able to see Amy Robles. Her post. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I see it.
This is a post she wrote, budgeting software, 10 questions to ask before you buy. I love this. Okay, so her first question, I've played with Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar budget, which I signed out because I've been inactive. Doing all this webinar stuff. So we have EveryDollar, we have YNAB, and let's go through some of the differences between the two or the benefits. Now, I know that I'm going to be the only one talking on the EveryDollar, and hopefully people who are watching can actually follow along as I jump from screen to screen. So Amy Robles says the first thing we got to look for before we pay for a budgeting program, and that's the key word, is pay for. Is this something that flows with my lifestyle and daily routine? Now, what she means by that, and this is the key sentence right here, If you're not going to enter in the transactions every time you make a purchase, what good is the app, budget, or software? So, Crystal, what is it about YNAB that fits into your lifestyle, or does it not?
I do use the app most of the time, but I also then sit down usually about once a week and double check and make sure everything is accounted for and add in things. My partner does not always use the app as well, so I have to be really I have to check a lot of the transactions, but I find that the peace of mind that it gives me is worth that time of knowing that, you know, there's two of us using this budget, and I can't always rely on all of the transactions being entered via the app when I'm not the one making them. Also, I use it for my business budget and my personal budget, so I'm not as good at entering my business ones through the app for whatever reason, so that usually takes me a little time to keep updated. But I make it fit with my lifestyle, is my answer.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. If it's not going to fit into your lifestyle and daily routine, then why bother? And the thing that helps is definitely the remote connectivity, the app, because without that, you can put receipts in your pocket and you know, you get home and you can enter them later. And I've done a little of both. I've gone all the way around it. You know, at different times, depending on the circumstances, you might be in a hurry, and download transactions and look at them that way. But it is a habit that you need to develop, even if it's not one that necessarily fits with your routine. I know YNAB does for me because of the app. I'm able to just punch it in right there. I love the fact that if I'm still sitting in the parking lot, it already has it pre-filled as to where I am, the actual vendor or store or what have you. So it makes it faster to go into. So I guess it really is convenience. Is it going to be something that I like doing or not? And this doesn't apply to me necessarily. It applies to anyone, whatever tool you use. Because if it becomes a chore, then you're not going to want to do it. Because in a way, money is a chore already. Because as we've already discussed, the only way we're going to make that stretch further or work for us is to pay attention to it. And so, is it something that I can make an easy habit of? And if so, then great. That's the one I want to use.
I'm not so sure money is a chore. I think earning money is a chore, and managing money is a chore. Hey, just
well, the managing part.
Yeah, this is the iPad version, the old version of YNAB iPad. I don't have the new version because this is a very old iPad. This is the first generation. So if people can get a general idea, I mean, right here you can see it tells me in YNAB, what my category is. I've got my favorites at the top here. This is my mortgage category, how much is left budgeted for the mortgage. Of course, that went out on the first of the month, so I have zero left. But then I've got my I'm saving $65 a month for our utilities, and there's our cell phone savings or bill or whatever you want to call it. And I went over on my. I'm sorry, that was my cable. This is my cell phone. So all you need to do on your cell phone, on your mobile phone, and this is good with YNAB, it's good for iPhone or Android, is hit the button, type in the expense, pick the category, and if you're using your iPhone or your Android, it's got a GPS built into it, so it actually has, if you've done this before, let's say at the grocery store or even better, at the gas station, the pump clicks off. You can see how much is being, how much is going to be charged to your debit card. You type that in, you pick the category or the GPS already tells you. It goes right to the category, subtracts the available amount, and you're done. And it takes away from the final balance. I love that. I think that's the most powerful thing that made me love YNAB was what you were just talking about. So does that fit my lifestyle? Absolutely. I'm not going to come home to a stack of receipts. I'll have one or two that my wife bring home because she doesn't do it on her phone, but that's fine. Totally fine. All right, let's move to number 2. Oh. Well, duh. I need to talk about Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar. Guess what they have? They have an iPhone app. So if I can pull that up for us really quickly, it's similar. Now, one thing that EveryDollar does, and I haven't completely set this up yet, one thing EveryDollar does is it ties to your bank account. Now, there are two versions. There's a free version and a pro version. The pro version is $99 a year, whereas YNAB, YNAB the program is $60, and if you use my link, which I'll give you later, you can save 10% off the purchase. The apps are free, but the software costs, and that's one thing we were talking about with this post that Amy wrote. So with the Dave Ramsey's app, it ties to the program, which is all web-based, and you can then tell it, okay, here I've got some, I don't know if you can see this, you probably can't. Let me see if I can make that a little bit better. Can you see this at all, or is it too dark now?
It's better.
That's better.
Really, it's interesting. I can barely read it. All my bank transactions are at the bottom, and I can drag it and pull it into whichever category it belongs to, and it categorizes it like that. Again, this is the Pro version, so that's going to cost me $99 a year versus YNAB, which I have to do each transaction manually, which is $60 minus 10% if you use my code, and that will give you lifetime membership unless there's a major upgrade, which I mean YNAB did a little while ago, but it was totally worth the discounted price that they gave us, which is very cool. All right, where are we here? Number two, I'll get a screen share. Let's do that again. Hopefully you guys are having some fun. Take that off. Wow, we're having that mirror effect. Here we go. Okay, number two, how long does it take to enter a transaction? That's another thing Amy thinks is important. A lot of people will consider it a hassle to, like we said, to manage our money, to enter our transactions manually. So, Crystal, when you do track this in your app or do it at home on the computer, I mean, how long does it actually take you to enter a transaction?
It's really fast. I mean, you just, pull up, depending on if you're doing it in the app or in the computer, and then you enter the amount and where it went and which category, and you're done. So I appreciate that a lot.
Steve, how about you?
Yeah, it's just a matter of seconds. Of course, I've had a little practice with it, but I could probably do it blindfolded to a degree. It autofills, in the payee and things like that. So, and it goes, as far as talking YNAB, automatically selects the last category used if you have it set to do that. So, and then you pop over to the menu. I'm a fan of the tab key. Just move right across and get it in there quickly. So,
yeah,
as far as computer goes,
you can set your budget up on the desktop with YNAB. You can do that now on the new iPad version, but you cannot set up your budget on the app, on the iPhone app. With EveryDollar, I believe you can do it all from the app. So since it's completely web-based, it's just the interface is a little bit different. So that's cool that you can actually set up the budget as well as enter the transactions lickety-split if you want to do it manually. With EveryDollar, Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar program, if you don't have the Pro version, then you're entering it manually. Which for me, it's not a bad deal. I am using the data for the web when I do this. The way that YNAB connects, I don't know why I'm talking all about YNAB, Steve. You're the master here. The way YNAB works is the data is stored in here until it syncs to the cloud, which I use Dropbox. It just syncs all of the, my wife's version, my version at home, the iPad version, the iPhone versions, whatever. It's all synced to that one data file so that the next time, whatever connects to wherever, it's all there, which I love. So, and I've tested it's 10 seconds at the most. Where I had I forget where I was. Oh, I was doing it from home. I entered a transaction at home. It went up to my Dropbox account, came back to my desktop, and it took away from the I think it was the groceries, and it was amazing how fast that was. So it really doesn't take long to enter the transaction. Number 3, how does my bank system connect with this software? I think I mentioned a little bit about that. Steve, you want to talk a little bit about that?
About how YNAB connects as far as your bank system goes?
Yeah, well, there are some things that you can do.
There are. The main thing is on the surface, it does not connect to any bank. The capability of the software is not there. There's different reasons for that, but it does not automatically sync. And in a way, to me, that's a good thing, because when it does connect and everything, the transactions are always there. It's too easy to fall into a complacency mode of, well, set it and forget it. Just pop in. Oh, look, there's my transactions. There's what I spent. Close the computer and move on. You're going to have to actually manually download them and import them if you want them in there. But it's not that big a chore. If you're familiar at all with your bank's interface, most credit unions and banks worldwide allow you to download transactions. And YNAB takes in several different formats, all of the popular ones, OFX, QFX, QIF, and as a last resort, CSV, which is simple spreadsheet files. And once you download them, the software automatically recognizes it. After you've done it that one time, it'll open YNAB for you, import them. It'll actually stop and ask you, like a summary, is this the account you want to put it into? And do you want to, change anything, include the memo or not? Because sometimes with banks, they throw in just junk in the memo. It's all like, ACH transaction repeatedly in every one, things like that. And then you put them in there, and then there's an approval process, and it goes very fast. I find it really convenient to do it as a follow-up check. To even if you're entering transactions yourself, it's a good way to catch it and see if you might have missed one, or possibly if what if there was a fraudulent transaction in your account. I know that's happened to me before. Had a transaction for around $27 for a store somewhere in New York State. This is a few years ago, and I hadn't even been there. I hadn't been out of the state in a few months, and I had to call and contest it and so forth. But you got it taken care of, because, of course, with data breaches nowadays, it seems to happen all too much. So it's good to get into the habit of downloading and importing and double-checking what's there.
Yeah, and I found that the balancing of your bank against your budget in YNAB is super easy unless you made a mistake. I haven't, of course, EveryDollar is not even 2 weeks old, so I haven't had the opportunity to balance that there. Plus, I'm using a mock budget right now. This is a mock budget because of the craziness going on here in this household. Anyway, there's a lot of cool things on EveryDollar, Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar. You've got your planned, you've got your spent, which is if you categorize your transactions, it moves it in there for you. It is completely tied to your account. These are all transactions on the right-hand side of your screen that have not been categorized yet. So I'd have to take a look and see what this check was for. It doesn't really give me a very good description on what it is. But Dollar Tree, I guess that's going to be a, let's just use that example here. That is going to be a lifestyle thing, which is entertainment. So I'll grab that, and I'll bring it to entertainment, and you'll see it's already telling me that once I drop it, I'll be using $8.64, and there it is. It just took it away. So that's how much I've budgeted. That's how much I spent. I've got to do a little manual, math in my head to say, okay, I've got $91 and some odd cents left over. YNAB does kind of the opposite. It shows you what you have left on the app. And the app, again, is the important piece here, I think, because if you're out and about spending money, if you haven't done the envelope system and you're using cash, you're very likely to swipe plastic and go over your budget. So this will help you to control that spending urge. It'll help you at least make it a more informed decision before it actually happens. So here's a couple things. Yeah. We got some windows that we're about to install. That's what those $5,000 transactions are. These are real numbers here, by the way, on the right. These are actually from my bank account. So, Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar does pull from the bank very well. It takes at least 24 hours when you first start, but it's all there, and I just got to categorize it. So that's very cool. Okay, let's go back to Amy's questions. Number 4, how do I reconcile the account? I can't answer that for EveryDollar. I'll answer that very quickly for YNAB, and that is, tell me if you guys can see YNAB on your screen. Are you able to see YNAB on your screen yet?
I'm only seeing the black bar. Yeah. There it is.
It's showing up now? Yes?
No, unfortunately.
What? Oh, this isn't good. Well, let me stop and let me start again. We will. Okay, we're gonna stop.
There you are.
Gonna start the whole thing over again. No, I'm kidding. Hi, welcome to the show. No, let's try the screen share again because I think this is very important. Here we go. Watch this. Here we go. Tell me you can see that.
YNAB is there.
There you go. All right, so this is actually the budget. I can also click down the tab on the upper left to get the reports, which if I want to run like a net worth statement or look at, by category, how much have we spent. All accounts will list everything that we put in here because it's not just one checking account. You can put multiple. You can go through the manipulations to enter credit card accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts if you want, all that stuff. But all accounts, I'm sorry, but right here under the budget accounts, that's where the transactions are listed, and you'll see all the transactions that I've manually entered. If during the month I wanted to verify certain transactions have been, cleared through the bank, I just click over on the right-hand side. You'll see all these green squares with the letter C in it. That means it's been cleared. But then when I want to reconcile, at the bottom right, there's a button that says Reconcile Account. I put in the date of my statement. I put in the amount on the statement. I begin the reconciliation. And if everything comes out okay, it'll have a big fat 0. If not, then I got to go back and figure out what I did wrong. Is that a good summary for that, Steve?
Yes, yes. As far as reconciling, there's an easy way you can do that. The way I go about it, of course, you're going to have to do this on your screen if you want to. So there you are in your checking account. Just go ahead and click on Uncleared Transactions down at the bottom. And when you do so, it filters it quickly. Now, you only have 2 uncleared transactions. But if you were comparing it to your bank statement or to your online view, you could sort by outflow or inflow. Of course, there's only 2 there right now, and it's already sorted, so to speak. But you could easily pick them off, and that's how I do it. I look at my bank statement, and I see one for using your number 787. Boom! I check the clear on the C on that, and it'll just vanish from view, which just makes it easy to knock those off.
Right. Well, I like to do this, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the screen, but right here, the C's have turned to the little lock symbol, which means they're done. I don't have to look at them ever again. They're done. They're it's all accounted for. I love that. Just feels like I've done it. I've finished. So, but I didn't know about clicking down here by the unclear transactions. That's very helpful because I've written checks before that have taken weeks to clear, and I have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Oh, hey, there it is. Wow, I learned something new today. Thank you. All right, let's go back to. We'll go back. I'm just going to say the questions. We're going to have the camera here. Is this? Oh, and again, I don't know how to reconcile within Dave Ramsey's program yet, so I'm sorry that I can't answer that question right now. I'm sure there's an FAQ on that. I just haven't looked into it. Okay, number 5. Is this something I will do long term? Crystal, had you ever tried any other budgeting programs before?
I mean, I had a Mint account for years, but I never really did anything with it. I would just look at it and be like, oh, that's where my money went, and that was it. And then, yeah, that's the only other thing that I've tried.
How about you, Steve? What were you using before YNAB?
For budgeting, nothing, honestly, because I couldn't get the budget thing. But what I was doing for many, many years was Quicken. I understood Quicken back. I had it from the days of DOS back in the 80s. Been around a little bit.
You just dated yourself, dude.
I did, but I used Quicken and I used MS Money for a while because when they made it free. I also had a little a portable freeware copy of this software that was just because all I was doing at the time, I wasn't budgeting. I was just recording transactions. I thought that's how I can do this. Is I'll put what I have and then I'll put what I've spent, and all it was really telling me is, well, you have some money left, or unfortunately you don't. And so as far as budgeting, no, YNAB was my first foray into software for budgeting specifically.
I would like to bring up what I used to use. Excuse me. It says there's macros in here. That's interesting. I'm going to screen share again. Sorry, folks, if I'm bouncing around a lot, but hey, I've got the technology at my fingertips. Why not use it? And we will screen share. This right here is the, of course, it's not populated, but I use this. If anybody wants to go and download this, they can email me for a link. You can find me, steve@stevestewart.me. It's .me because I couldn't get the .com. The guy who owns the .com has owned it since 1997. I don't think he's giving it up. But this budget that I created, actually, you could enter the transactions on the right-hand side, and it would identify, okay, if I labeled this category as groceries, and I couldn't misspell it, otherwise it wouldn't accept it, then it would flow over here automatically. It does a lot of what YNAB does a lot of what EveryDollar does, but this was a spreadsheet I did myself. And it was a chore, but back then we didn't have the ease of these smartphone apps. So I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of, for me it was a lot of fun because I got to see the numbers working for us and was able to keep track of things like that very easy. So it was a lot better than just, pen and paper hand and stuff like that. Why is my screen share? Okay, good, we're back. But the question was, is this something I would do long term? With YNAB, it's been super easy for me. So I'm hoping that I get in the habit of doing it as well on EveryDollar to keep track of things, every single transactions. I'm doing double work right now, but a lot of people I know are doing double work because they're just testing the waters before they actually commit to that $99 a year on Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar program. All right, let's move on to number 6. Are you guys enjoying this? Is this too boring for you? Because I can move it along.
This is fine.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
You're not going to hurt my feelings. We're talking about budgeting here. I get it.
Budgeting does not equal boring.
Oh, and this is an important note to I'm sure somebody that's watching this is going, what about Mint? What about Mint? What about Mint? Mint is very cool because it's web-based, just like Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar. I believe you can see it on your phone, though I haven't tried yet. Yeah, there's an app. It's been a while since I've used it. They've probably upgraded it since then. It does tie to all of your accounts, not just the ones that you enter into YNAB or not the ones that you give permission to EveryDollar to look into. If you set it up that way, it'll look into everything. You got credit cards, all that stuff. So Mint is very cool, and it's free. So that's cool. My problem with Mint is that they're going to send you solicitations for debt products. I can't go there, so I've just pushed them off to the side. So Mint is a great free version, but then again, what happens to a free version when they decide to change something and you don't like it? What happens when it breaks? With a paid version, you obviously have at least the feeling that you've got a right to demand some service. And Steve, you know all about the customer service over at YNAB.
Mm-hmm.
So the question here is this the free version, and what are the benefits do the paid version offer? YNAB, the only thing you can do is a paid version. You can try it for free for 34 days. The first time you try to download it and use it. After that, you need to decide, am I going to keep it or not. Dave Ramsey's version, there is a free version. With the Pro version, there is the opportunity to tie it to your bank account. And there's added customer service and things like that. So I do know that is the case there. Crystal, I haven't let you talk much lately, so let me get you into this one.
Okay.
Now, this is really for couples, so I'm assuming we're all married here.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Will we both follow this program? That's an important question. Crystal, you talked about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is still pretty new to him, right?
Somewhat, yeah. So I'm more of the person. I'm more of the numbers person. So I keep track of it all, and yeah, it's working out. And because I have to do it for my business and the personal stuff, I just spend more time doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Steve, does your wife go in and play with YNAB at all, or do you take care of it all yourself?
She uses the app, but it's rare that she uses the computer. As far as the software on the computer, I should say. That's more my thing. It's fun for me to do so. I'm more of the computer geek in the house anyway, so she's fine with me doing that. I've been the bill payer over the years and so forth. Or it depends on the couple. Some couples it's the wife, others it's the husband. One partner or the other in whatever relationship usually is the one that handles that, I guess. So, but she does participate, and that's good. We work together on it.
Can I tell you guys a quick story?
Sure.
When my wife and I got married, she drew up a budget on paper, good old-fashioned paper. This is year 2000, okay? And I was like, "Oh, that's cute, honey. Sure, no problem." And I had no interest in it. And then I caught the bug, and now I'm Mr. Budget Guy. But she, of course, wasn't as on board with it as I was, and I was creating spreadsheets and all this stuff. And come here, honey, here's the laptop. Let's look at the budget on the Excel spreadsheet. And so, she's never really got on board as much as me. But once we started using YNAB, and she could pull up the program on her computer without me even being around, that was the key. And now I can just bring my little MacBook Pro up, and every Sunday we go through the budget, Sunday afternoon, and if it's 10 minutes, then something happened, something big. We're talking about other stuff than just what's the numbers in the budget, but for the most part, we're done in 5 to 7 minutes. It's great. So that doesn't take much time at all. All right. So yeah, it's something we definitely will use here in the household. What will an upgrade cost? Okay, with EveryDollar, we don't know. I believe it's just a $99 every year if you get the Pro version. Looks like the free version is always going to be free. With YNAB, the only times that I am aware of any extra charges, it's a one-time only, $60. I'll get you 10% off. But it's one time unless they do some kind of a major upgrade. What was the upgrade price when they went to YNAB 4.0? Steve, was it $34 or something?
I believe that. Well, we had some promotions, of course, at and near the launch, but it's usually $20 off. $60 software typically now, and it's sold. And even still, this is the thing, guys. Neat is there's been let me see, including the original spreadsheet version of YNAB, there was YNAB Basic, then Pro, then 3, and then 4. If a person came along today and had purchased a spreadsheet from Jesse when it was just him back in, say, 2005, and they can find them in the system, and they can get the upgrade price to the latest version, skipping several versions, so to speak. So it works pretty good that way. Yeah. And then it's that one-time fee. It's not free software for life, but as far as that version, you own that one, so to speak, for as long as you want to use it. And nothing. They've never twisted arms to force you to upgrade and say, hey, you must buy, or cripple the software in any way, which is good, because I know some software's done that. They have a sunset program, so to speak, which is never fun. Kind of leaves a bad taste in people's mouth, and so YNAB's never done that.
Yeah, can you say XP? Hey, which you just brought something up which takes us right to number 9. What about the customer service? I know the customer service at YNAB is excellent. I believe the customer service at Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar is fantastic, especially during the launch, because I know they're getting a lot of questions. I don't think we need to go into that, except that YNAB used to have you, Steve, so I don't know what their customer service is like now.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sure it's good. I haven't had a need to call them or write them for any help, so I don't have any first-hand experience. But customer service is important. It kind of goes without saying. But any product or anything out there, if a person has the simplest of questions or something more complex, if you can't get that answer, then you're just going to walk away. You're going to leave. You might be upset, but nobody wants frustration points, no matter what it might be. So yeah, you got to be there to help people.
Yep. All right, let's move to number 10. What security measures are in place? That's a great question. I don't know if I can answer that. That's a question you would want to answer or ask to say, is what I'm putting my money, my numbers, if I'm tying it to my bank account, which the EveryDollar you do, and with Mint you absolutely do. With YNAB you don't. So real quick, Steve, what kind of security would we be worried about with my favorite budgeting program, YNAB?
Yeah, I've got one of those.
You should have more than one of these. Your whole wardrobe should have been filled with these.
Yeah, I've got a few. Some that are unavailable to the public, so to speak.
Ooh.
As far as security goes, with YNAB, with any budgeting software, or with budgeting software, typically, if it's not tied to the bank, then there's no need for you to put account numbers in there. If anybody happened to get a hold of your budget, the most they're going to see is what you spent at a store, how much money you brought in. They're going to have some information that they might be able to build some sort of fraudulent thing against you on. But there's not going to be any account numbers. There's not going to be any social security numbers. Nothing terribly identifying. It could be a sample budget for all they know. And as far as syncing it through Dropbox in the cloud, well, the security in that case is on Dropbox. And Dropbox, there are some people that are really not fans of the service, and that's fine. But they go a long ways to secure the data you have there, whether it's pictures of Aunt Mabel or your financial budget, and it's taken care of. So I think it's safe. It's definitely, especially if you're not connecting to the.
Are you guys still there?
I'm here.
I'm sorry. I thought I just lost you, but it looks like you're still there.
Terry!
Steve, you're there. You're good. Oh, we might have lost him.
I think we might have, yeah.
Oh, he looks like he's back. Okay, he's just in and out. That's cool. I just did a quick little search for security on EveryDollar. Dave Ramsey's. Sorry, my mom is calling. I'm going to get this later. Sorry, Mom. You're probably calling to tell me, hey, you look great on TV. The Lampo, blah, 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 blah. Let's see here. It talks about their security for how EveryDollar.com is fully encrypted. I'm going to have to take their word for it. Mint has been around for a long time. I have never really had a big concern about the security of Mint. I can't imagine with all the other websites and things that are out there that somebody would want to mess around with somebody's budget program when, yes, we've had hacks into banks, but that's where the money is. That's where they want to go. Who cares what my budget looks like? So, so number 10 here on Amy's list, what security measures are in place? I'd be more concerned with EveryDollar because that does tie to your bank account. I'd be more concerned with Mint.com because that doesn't just tie into your bank account, but it ties into all of your accounts that you give them access to. YNAB, there is none. You would have to manually download your data to import it into the YNAB program for it to see it anyway, right, Steve? So I don't see a big concern there. Are you there, Steve? Oh, we're losing him again? Oh, we're losing him again.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. Well, he said he was having DSL problems earlier today, so they're shutting him down, I guess. We're gonna probably go for another 5-10 minutes here. I wanted to talk about Steve's. Well, Steve's not here. I can't really talk about his book, but he wrote a book called Paycheck to Paycheck: Budgeting with YNAB: The Unofficial Guide to Reaching a Full Buffer. If anybody wants to go take a look at that on Amazon. Again, that's a very long name for a book. So if you want to, I've got a short code link here that'll take you right to it. If you go to stevestewart.me/YNAB-book, that will take you right to his book in Amazon. If you're interested in buying YNAB, trying it out for free for 34 days, and then if you decide you want it and get a 10% discount, if you do decide to buy it, then use this link to get that 10% off. You could use this link now to download it, and then if you change your mind later and you want to keep it, that's when the discount will actually be applied. It'll be stevestewart.me/YNAB. Very simple like that. So, Crystal.
Yes.
How much debt have you paid off since getting back into the YNAB thing?
Well, I've paid off all of my credit card debt, which was about $16,600. I sold off some things to be able to do that. I didn't just magically come up with that money.
You generated money by selling stuff. Cool.
Yes, and so now I fully funded a 2-month buffer just because the income from my partner is a little touch and go right now. So I wanted to make sure we had extra security, as well as a $3,000 emergency fund. So now that those are in place, I feel like I can really take all the extra and put it towards the debt, because I wanted to make sure that there was security and I wasn't just going to fall back onto credit cards at some point if that happens. So.
Right. Well, just cut them up and you can't fall back on them.
Right.
You have to go through the whole process of getting a new card, and trust me, you can go anywhere and they will give you a card if you need it that bad. So Steve's back with us. One of the pain points that I'm having that somebody needs to be aware of before they start switching into a new budgeting software program, I'd forgotten about this because I've been using YNAB for a couple years now. Going from spreadsheet to YNAB to EveryDollar, there's definitely a change in the methodology and the thinking. Now, all of the budgets that I'm talking about is not just looking back and seeing what we spent. Whoopee. The budget is really to forecast what you are going to spend based on what you expect to bring in, seeing where there might be a shortfall, seeing where you might have extra to throw at your next goal, whether that's debt reduction, saving, building up this buffer for the 1 month with YNAB, whatever. That's where the methodology really changes with things like YNAB versus EveryDollar. Because with EveryDollar from Dave Ramsey, you have to tell it how much money you're going to make for that next month, which we're using April as the example here. You have to say, okay, I'm going to get $6,000 of income in. Budget every dollar. but that doesn't take into account anything you've already been saving up for this category. So you can't have any kind of, at least I haven't found a way, and maybe there is, but I haven't found a way to carry over. If you're a Dave Ramsey fan, if you have cash left over in the envelope, you let it roll into the next month, or you allocate it somewhere else. It's hard to do in a software program, so I haven't found a way to do that. With YNAB, it tells you how much money you have left, and it doesn't matter what month you're in. If you budgeted $300 a month for car repair and never spent a dime for 6 months, you got $1,800 sitting there. Something happens, $1,000 needs to come out. It doesn't matter if you only budgeted $600 for April. You've got all that money left over from the previous months. So, Crystal, you've probably seen that happening, where that buffering of just inside the categories come in handy, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I looked into that for EveryDollar because that was something somebody had brought up to me, and I read the FAQ, and they said, if you have money left over, you just have to put it somewhere else. It just does not carry over. And I was like, I get the thinking behind it, but I'm so used to YNAB and being able to carry it over that I don't know that I like that aspect of it.
Well, that's because we've changed our mindset. We
Right.
came from a zero-based budget mindset, or if you were doing budgeting before, like I did with the Excel spreadsheet, and then I would have something else to track the overflow, the extra, the savings, whatever. Whereas within YNAB, if you're leaving it within the category, it sits there and you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, if I'm saving up for, like we're having windows repaired, we're having them replaced in the house this month, we've been saving. You get this big 5-digit number in your account, and you're like, holy, this isn't right, but it really is. It's still sitting there. A little bit dangerous, too. Don't just leave money sitting in your checking account. But if you're using a program and you can see how much money you have left for that specific category, like entertainment, you're not going to blow the window money. That's the cool thing about YNAB. I think with EveryDollar, I have a hack for how you can get started. And this would be just to say, create a line item for income and then take whatever you have extra from last month, put it in there, and just do it this one time. Let's say you have $2,000 left over from last month, put it in there, allocate the stuff just like you had in YNAB or whatever other budgeting software program you had, and then you can use it there. So I like EveryDollar. Crystal, you said you just started trying it out?
I peeked at it yesterday. I didn't really punch in any numbers. I was just reading all of the FAQ and reading everything about it, but I didn't play with the software at all.
Yeah, it's a neat, shiny new toy. Steve, how about have you taken a look at EveryDollar or any other budgeting software program lately?
I looked at EveryDollar this morning, played with it a bit. I noticed that you could punch in, for example, you could say income, and you give it a name like a transaction, and it would allow you right then to go budget it. And similar to YNAB, it would, it's like, let's say you put in $300 of income you picked up from some source, and you budget 100 towards groceries. They say, okay, it would say 200 left to budget. So in a respect of like YNAB, taking that direct, here's what you have, here's what you need to do with it, approach is good. I did notice Dave Ramsey takes one more step, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but it says it's the income of 300, and then the second line is, it's sort of like, they label it, I think, as expected, and then the next, there's another column of actual as far as whether it came in or when it comes in. It allows you to, what they're doing is they're taking the approach that Dave's advocated for many years of, look, here's what we think we're going to have coming in, planned and received. There it is, exactly. But the money you put in planned gives you that left to budget, I notice on your screen, and that's pretty handy. It's just similar, keeps it all on one page, similar to looking at the budget view on YNAB.
Right. If I were to change my budget for groceries up to $1,200, yeah, I know that's a lot. My wife likes to cook. You would see that left to budget. Oh. Oh, epic fail. Right in the middle of a broadcast. But anyway, it changed the amount available to budget everywhere, so that was handy. Did you finish your thought, Steve? Because you made me think about one more thing about
No, that's fine. It's fine.
This is the cool thing that this is the reason every budget is a Dave Ramsey product. Can you guys still see it?
Yes.
Okay. Over here on the left, you can see I'm selected in my budget, but there's a thing called baby steps, and you click on that, and it walks you through the baby steps. So if you're a Dave Ramsey fan, you're following the baby steps, which I think is the most simple to understand process for going from just starting, just barely scraping by, crisis mode, how do we get going, to where you're building wealth, this is it. Now it doesn't have a graph or anything yet that I've found. Well, yeah, it does. Okay, so if you can see on my screen, let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, I did it the wrong way. Sorry. Let me zoom in and tell me if this is come on. I
Yeah.
gotta get me a Mac keyboard. Okay, so right here it does show me what I have saved so far, and then it shows me how much debt I have left, how many debts I have, how much I'm paying off. My one debt, by the way, I've hacked this program to include my mortgage, so I've made my mortgage payment the principal and interest, and I've made my debt, I've made my mortgage payment the escrow, and I've made my debt the actual principal and interest, so I can every month say I'm paying off my debt, which is very cool. It's a hack. You don't have to do it that way, but so it does give you a little bit of an idea how you're following along with Dave Ramsey's baby steps. That's kind of handy, kind of neat. Another benefit to his program. When they first announced this, I thought it was exactly like YNAB. It's very close. It's a lot better than a lot of the other programs I've seen online. It is web-based, so you can tie it to all your devices, just like YNAB. There's a lot of good benefits to this. Going back to the difference between free and paid, I'm going to be going to the free version of EveryDollar and still testing it out, seeing how I like it or not. Yes, I'm doing double work, but that's what people pay me to do, right? So, hey, you guys, is there any last thoughts that you guys have about either of these two or other budgeting processes that we're talking about here?
I think either one can work, and of course, there's a lot out there. That checklist that you showed and we've been working off of is a good approach. Because if it's not going to work for you, if it doesn't fit into your lifestyle, if it's not something that you're comfortable with, it's regardless of the brand or the type or how many fans any given budgeting process has. It has to work for you, the individual. So that's the thing, and I hope anybody that's seeking a solution can find one either in one of these two products or in other ones out there.
So if you had to choose between the two, Steve, which one would you pick?
Pressed against the wall. Free is good, but in a way, YNAB is free because I'm pretty comfortable with YNAB 4, regardless of what the upgrade path may go from here on out. So I guess I'm all set with YNAB for now.
Yeah. Plus, you've been using it for a while, so
a little bit.
We love YNAB, right? Okay. Crystal, you've just got into YNAB. EveryDollar has a free version. You've obviously paid your dues, so you've got YNAB in your hands. But I mean, would you consider going to EveryDollar?
Yeah, I want to play around with it a little bit more and see what the capabilities are of the free version. But I love YNAB, so I'd be hard pressed to spend my time really learning a whole new system when I've got one that's working really well for me already.
Yeah. Well, we love YNAB. We do.
Yes.
So we all do. But going back to something that Steve said, and that's what I want to close with here, is that it really doesn't matter what budgeting process you use. You got to use it. That's the thing. If you use your budget, you're going to make your money go farther. You're going to be better at making wise, purposeful purchases, and that's going to help you to reach your goals by spending your values and not on impulses. So I appreciate, Crystal, you coming in. Tell everybody about your website.
It's debtfreeacupuncturist.com, and I am blogging about my journey to pay off my student loans.
And if there's any acupuncturists who want to join her Facebook group, just go into a search, ask to join. She'll let you in if you qualify.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, she'll kick you out. I'm not qualified anymore. So
you'll be back, I think, as a guest expert again.
Hey, let me know. I'll be ready.
Yes.
Steve, you wrote a book. Dude.
Yes, I did. And it's going to be free this weekend if anybody wants to pick it up. It's a staggering 99 cents right now, but it'll be free Saturday and Sunday on Amazon if they're interested in checking it out. There's also in the book is a link to a YNAB cheat sheet that I've got. It's a bonus of the book, so to speak, and help people navigate the waters as they're just getting started with it. Hope people want to check that out. They certainly can for free this weekend.
I'm sharing that right now on. I don't know how that shows up, but there's a showcase that's showing up right now, so I'm helping you. And if you can't find it, Here's a short link for you again to go find the book. It's not an affiliate that gives me any money. It might give somebody else some money, but if you want to go find Steve's book very easily and get it on your Kindle, is it available on any other version, Steve, by the way?
No, not right now. It's just on Kindle, Amazon, and of course, online on the software for the computer. Of course, you can get Kindle on almost any device. So
Right. But I'm
right
saying
now,
you don't have a paper
where it is.
copy.
No,
Yeah.
no paper copies.
All right. Well, here's the short link. It's stevestewart.me/YNAB book, and that'll take you right to his book right there in Amazon. So, Crystal, Ewan, Steve, Muty, which if you put an @ before Steve's name, you'll find him on Twitter. Crystal, on Twitter, you are Debt-Free Acu.
Yes.
ACU. Debt-Free Acu as in acupuncture.
Yes.
Dude and do that. Gosh, this is fun. Thank you so much for coming on today. For the people who are still watching, thank you so much. Oh, I didn't tell you about getting 10% off a YNAB. It's very easy. Go to stevestewart.me/YNAB. YNAB. You need a budget. We love YNAB here, but I'm also becoming a pretty big fan of EveryDollar. So, it's there is a free version. You can try it out. They'll give you 15 days of the pro version to try out before they charge you. $99 a year. Of course, things like Mint are free, but just watch out for those solicitations. Do not sign up for any more credit cards or debt products, please, because what we need to do is to pay attention, not interest. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks, guys. Everybody wave.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.